What's up, nerds? So my earlier video was talking about Rey and the effect that she's having on the current Star Wars and just her character as a whole. And then I learned an interesting new tidbit of information that's kind of floating around the internet right now. You may have seen it, but supposedly part of the reason that the Disney Star Wars stuff is kind of failing, that's including Galaxy's Edge, which is far below the numbers and the money that they were expecting to make, what I was expecting them to make too. I thought that'd be a great plan. But part of the reason for all this is because Disney, when they bought Lucasfilm from George Lucas, they didn't just get, Star Wars 100% through and through. It was like, so that they bought it from him, but he still would get, I believe it's 25% in royalties for characters that he had created. Characters, that had been used in the movies that he was originally a part of. So, everything from Obi-Wan to Yoda and so on. And that's potentially why they're killing off, underutilizing and ruining a lot of the original characters that we've, come to know and love since the bloody 70s. Because the less we get invested in those characters and the more that they get out of the way, then the less money goes to Lucas and the more goes to Disney themselves. And this actually makes a lot of sense to me. There's a ton of rumors always going on about what's going on in Lucasfilm, but this one actually makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, when you look at The Force Awakens, even though objectively it had so many problems with it, similar to Last Jedi, partially just because it was a blatant ripoff, but I digress. It made a crap ton of money, right? And Last Jedi made, $1 billion less? Because Force Awakens was pretty much just riding on pure nostalgia alone. They're like, look, here's the Millennium Falcon, look, here's Han, here's Chewie, here's the entirety of A New Hope. Again. And then Last Jedi, they realized, okay, we can't do the exact same thing, so they had to kind of try and do things on their own without a cookie cut already out for them. And as I said, it did not make nearly as much money. And that, it makes sense to me, even though they would have gotten more money from the higher grossing movie, even with that 25% royalty out. They want to get rid of anything that doesn't just give them money. And that makes sense to me. But, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense why they're ruining these characters that we love and that they should realistically be capitalizing on, because Luke Skywalker equals money. You'd think that'd be a given. But with this potential knowledge, that makes a lot of sense. That actually resonates with me. They want to get rid of those characters and do kind of a steady transition into the new people so that they end up just getting everything. And in terms of the theme park, Galaxy's Edge, when you think of a Star Wars theme park, you want to see stormtroopers walking around. You want to run into Darth freaking Vader and, see Luke and Han and Leia with the classic little buns walking around. That's what you would expect to see from a Star Wars theme park. That's definitely what I would expect, especially, Vader. You see Vader, I give people money. He's awesome. But the entire theme park is 100% revolved around the sequel stuff. And that is a big reason as to why this news makes a lot of sense to me, because that way they get 100% of anything that comes from this, because Lucas didn't come up with the First Order stormtroopers, even though they're knockoffs and lame. He didn't come up with Kylo Ren, Rey, any of that stuff. So they made this theme park as a cash grab albeit a clever one, realistically, because who wouldn't want a Star Wars theme park? And it didn't work because people don't really like the sequel stuff. And apparently the rides there aren't that good anyway, but... You know, if there's a bunch of stormtroopers walking around the Imperial March just blaring 24/7, I would live in a place like that. And I'm sure that tons of other people would too. But Disney looks at that and they say, okay, that might do well, but that would still be giving some of the stuff to George Lucas. We can't, A, admit that he's better at this than we are, and B, get rid of any money because, you know, Disney just doesn't have enough money. They're real broke right now. But so yeah, I thought that was an interesting rumor that's going around that actually it's gained a lot of traction and makes a lot of sense. Because why would they underutilize and nerf, basically, and just mess up a bunch of characters? Now, even simple ones like C-3PO and R2, you'd think they'd be running around being comic relief like always. And even they're barely present in the new movies. And that can explain it because those are Lucas-made characters. And that also explains why a lot of the new people are blatant knockoffs of a lot of the original cast. You know, BB-8 is R2. Poe is basically Han, to an extent. Rey's origin story is very similar to Luke, because once Disney got it, they didn't really have any original ideas, but they couldn't use the stuff Lucas already made because then they wouldn't get all the money. So they just kind of took his ideas and tweaked them a little bit, because Disney want that money, but we want good Star Wars. So, I'm not sure if I have the money that he would get from it right. I believe it is 25% royalties, is the rumor that was going around about it. But yeah, I thought you guys would like to know that. If you like this kind of thing, hit the little thumbs up, boy. And sub if you like talking about nerd stuff with a nerd. Peace.